The Tower of God manga is slowly becoming one of my favorites for a number of reasons, from the lore building to the overall characters. I believe that this show is one for the ages. Of course, this does not come without criticism, but I do feel like there is more to love here than there is to hate when it comes to the show. Just a disclaimer, this video is based on my overall thoughts on the show, and some predictions that I may have based upon this point where I am, which I'm going to say is the Hell Train Saga, towards the end of that. Before I actually dive into this video, I would like to say there will be spoilers for Season 1 and 2 of the manga, so if you don't want to be spoiled, now's your time to go ahead and click off. If you don't care about spoilers, or just want to hear what I have to say about the series so far, however, please continue to watch until the end of the video. I feel like a good place to start would be discussing the overall plot of the story and where it takes place. Unlike that of a school or a city that we are all familiar with, such as Tokyo or London, for example, author Lee Jung-hui chose to set the story in, the Tower of God. Earlier on, we found out there are two types of people who enter the tower. Those that are invited in by Hidan, which are known as regulars, or those that open the gates themselves, which are known as irregulars. Regardless, everyone who enters the tower's door, his goal is to climb the tower for one reason or another. With such a simple goal, the story is allowed the freedom to take any direction that it wants without things feeling out of place, since there is no set path. The Hell Train, for example, is a great example of this. Every time Bam and his team gets off, they are thrown into different situations that show the viewers their progression and helps with the overall world building. Under the context that the Hell Train is an express train through several floors of the tower, it makes sense for each floor to have a different station as well have different events occurring there. The Name Hunt station on the 39th floor is a total 360 from the floor that we first meet Hanaki. And the reason this works is because there is no set expectation from each floor. While yes, the climb up the tower is dangerous, the danger lies more in the skill of the opponents that those who are climbing find, and the test used to progress from floor to floor rather than natural occurrences on the tower itself. In fact, most people live normal lives upon a floor that they either can't climb up further from, or they simply choose to stop climbing for other reasons. Due to this lack of a path, the journey then becomes one where we simply follow the characters around as they make their way up the tower. Most of the main cast have a very basic understanding of the world, except from what they were exposed to. For instance, we didn't know about the 10 Great Families until Season 2. While, yes, technically, we knew about some of the power structures through the mentions of Jihad and the princesses, as well as Kun mentioning he was from a powerful family, I think it's safe to argue that the audience wasn't given much information about the 10 Great Families throughout Season 1. The Tower of God has a vast cast of characters that are introduced throughout the story. While some get more screen time than others, the majority of the characters have some sort of development and or some kind of exploration of their character with the time that they are given. Whether I am laughing due to someone doing something funny or highly pissed at another person's actions, the characters are some of the most engaging that the world of anime and manga have to offer. In my opinion, the antagonistic group, aka Rachel and Friends, definitely steals the show in comparison to the main protagonist and his group. Firstly, the antagonists are the ones that are driving the narrative in this story without the story requiring them to do so. There are plenty of other people like the different people from Fug, Kaiser and the 10 Bosses, and Hojo that serve the function of serving as a barrier to the main character's progression and overall goal. With Rachel, however, you never know what's going to happen. Now, I hate to sound like her personal hype man, but I have to give credit where credit is due. For someone who most of the story is arguably one of the weakest characters, she gets a lot done. Also, she is somewhat unpredictable in what she will do next. From trying to kill the main character to trying to revive a great evil, the girl gets shit done. On the other hand, the protagonist and his group are still able to hold their own when it comes to keeping the story interesting. With how the progression is based upon passing the floor test or not, a decent majority of the cast has the ability to show off their skills in these tests. These moments leading up to the Hell Train, for instance, several characters are fighting at the same time in different areas, giving us a decent idea of their limitations, strengths, and weaknesses at that time. One thing that the series does struggle with, though minor, is the rate of progression for characters compared to their peers. You know how in Naruto, him and Sasuke can literally destroy almost everyone else with no challenge? Or how Goku towers above the rest of the Z Fighters? Yeah, I feel like this show is preparing the viewer for the same thing with Bam. Sure, the rankers, the family hits, and Jihad might still be relevant towards the end of the story, but the rest of the main cast will severely be outclassed by Bam. In fact, I would argue that they already are. I don't think it will be on the same scale as the other shows I mentioned, since the characters in Tower of God typically battle in a team setting, but there have been cases where individuals have taken down whole teams. As stated before, the viewer learns more about the Tower as the characters we follow progress throughout the story. In the first few chapters/episodes, we are only informed of, but not introduced to, Rachel, a princess of Jihad, Yuri, the Tower itself, and the 13-month series weapons. At this point in the story, it doesn't really need to let the audience know much else at this point. In fact, all that we really need to know is how the characters will be able to advance up until they reach the top of the tower, and a motivation for our main character, Bam, to climb the tower, which we get. As the story progresses, we learn throughout the addition of new characters and the discussions that they have with each other. While the lore may not be quite on the level of that of shows such as Hunter x Hunter and Attack on Titan, the vagueness in the beginning makes the viewer want more. Learning more about the characters and how the world got to what it is in the present is always one of the most interesting parts of the story, in my opinion. And Tower of God manages to give us bite-sized pieces of information that answers one question, but will always bring up another. For instance, when Anak, Jihad, tells the audience about her mother's death, we find out why she wants revenge and why she is so aggressive and standoffish towards other characters. But then, we are left with the question, well, why can't a princess fall in love? Is it due to Jihad not wanting his blood to be tainted, or is there some other reason? Every story has its flaws, and this one is no exception, but I do believe that this one does try to minimize its flaws. One is having certain main characters fade into the background in comparison to others. Rock, for example, currently hasn't done much of anything. Sure, he plays a decent support role, but up to the Hidden Floor arc, he hasn't really made any improvements in terms of skill or strength, as well as not achieving much. Also, we never see or hear about him training off-panel. I'm aware that this could change, since at the time of creating this video, I have yet to finish the Hell Train saga and Season 2, but Rock is quickly getting left behind in terms of character development and improvement by the likes of Kun, Bam, and Dorsey, and even side characters like Ran, Shibusi, and Hats are managing to outperform him in terms of accomplishment. This is not to say that he can't just keep the same character traits, but he has yet to accomplish anything major in terms of the story. There are a lot of things I love about this show, from the interesting characters keeping you on your toes at all times, to just observing the beautiful scenery that the author has brought to life on the pages. I truly feel like there is something here for everyone, especially if you want a different kind of approach to anime from a typical battle anime. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to my channel for future content, to go ahead and like this video, and to leave a comment below telling me what you think. Thank you so much for your support, and until next time.